Well, hi again, everybody, and welcome to this week's Ingles Furman Radio Network preview. It is Furman on the road at Chattanooga. I am Dan Scott, the voice of the Paladins, checking in with you to give you a little bit of an insight into some of the storylines that we're going to be following inside the radio booth come broadcast time on Saturday afternoon. We record this and release it on Friday, so I'll say tomorrow, but just to make sure, Saturday. It's a 1:30 kick and a 12 o'clock airtime on the Ingles Furman Radio Network, and we'll tell you more about that coming up in just a bit. Paladins coming off of a heartbreaking loss to East Tennessee State on homecoming here at Paladin Stadium last week, 17-13, a game that Furman led from start until 9 seconds prior to the finish when ETSU scored a touchdown on a 3-yard pass. And that puts Furman in a position now where virtually any hope of making the playoffs relies on winning their final 4 games of the regular season and then getting a bunch of help. And we'll talk about that a little bit as we go on. Both of these teams are 4-3 coming into play today. Furman is 2-2 in the conference. UTC is 3-1. And this is going to be a pretty intriguing matchup. When we start going inside the numbers here in a minute, you're going to see why George Quarles, the offensive coordinator for Furman, says this is the most talented defense they are going to play this season. Let's take a look at some of the number comparisons to start things off. And this is from Chattanooga's notes package, so you also get a little bit of national ranking there from the FCS level. You can see the point differential, the rushing yardage. They love to run the football. This is a 4th straight team that loves to be physical running the football that the Furman defense will have challenged. And really 5 teams that like to run it. If you go all the way back to Mercer, they do it a bit differently than Wofford, the Citadel, and ETSU, and now Chattanooga. Passing-wise, the passing offense for Chattanooga has been rather pedestrian. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Their total offensive numbers don't blow you away by any stretch of the imagination. 374.4 for the Mocs, 344.9 for the Paladins, so relatively close there. But again, it's the defense that is the thing that jumps off the charts for you. The scoring defense, actually, Furman has an advantage there, but look at the rushing defensive numbers. The passing defensive numbers, Furman is actually better there. Total defense, UTC has a lead there, an advantage in that category. But it's what they do when it comes to getting pressure on the quarterback, when it comes to forcing turnovers. They are plus 10, are the Mocs, in the turnover margin, and they have sacked opposing quarterbacks 22 times on the season. 10 of those have come from Devonsha Maxwell, their 5th-year senior defensive end. He has 26 tackles. 12 of those are tackles for loss. 10 of those 12 are quarterback sacks. Far and away the most on the team and in the conference. Ben Bruton, their other defensive end, also has 4 sacks. They get after the quarterback and do it with a passion. And as mentioned, they have intercepted 13 passes on the season, 5 of those by their strong safety, Brandon Dowdell. So defense is the word for Rusty Wright's team. That and veteran experience. And this is something that, in talking with Clay Hendricks this week, and you'll hear him reference this a little bit on the broadcast, COVID has brought a whole new level of lunacy into play this season. And from a Chattanooga standpoint, that lunacy is mostly because of the number of experienced players they have. They have 3 players, do the Mocs, who are playing their 7th season of college football. Chris James, Harrison Moon, and Montez Wilson. They have 11 players playing their 6th season of college football, and another 14 in their 5th year. And when you look at how that breaks down on the guys who are actually going to play along their offensive line, their left tackle Harrison Moon, 7th-year player. Their left guard, Cole Strange, and their starting center, Kyle Miskelly, both 6-year players. Their tight end, Chris James, is a 7th-year player. Their right guard, McClendon Curtis, is only a 5th-year player. He's the young guy in the bunch. Their backup quarterback, Drayton Arnold, a 6th-year player. Their second-string running back, who sees a lot of time, Tyrell Price, a 6th-year player. Their starting wide receiver and leading receiver, Reginald Henderson, a 6th-year player. Their starting H-back receiver, Kenor McKinnon, is a 5th-year player. And then you flip it over to their defense. Their defense has 3 6th-year starters, free safety Jarrell Lawson, cornerback Jordan Jones, and middle linebacker Cam Jones, and 2 5th-year starters, and in Devonsha Maxwell and strong safety Brandon Dowdell, and a backup Giovanni Rivera, who's also a 5th-year player. So they have experience and then some all over the place. And a lot of those guys are transfers who have come in from other programs. Rusty Wright believes in doing that with Chattanooga, and they have put together statistically what is a very, very scary defense, and George Quarles says that it's the best defense that they'll face this season. Looking at the overall series numbers between these teams, Furman leads by a 30-20 score. This will be the 50th matchup, and they actually have, the Paladins do, an 18-8 record against Chattanooga in the city of Chattanooga. So a bit of a history for you there. The last time we played, of course, was the 20-18 loss during the spring here at Paladins Stadium. From a Furman standpoint, well, it's going to be a matter of not leaving points on the field. You go back to the loss to ETSU last week. Ryan Miller, who almost never drops the ball, dropped a touchdown pass early. You had another wide-open receiver, which I believe was Miller, in the end zone in the second half, and Jace Wilson fading backwards, underthrew a pass badly that if he steps into a throw, and he knows this, they've talked about this week, if he steps into it and puts it where it's supposed to be, it's an easy touchdown. Just plays like that continue to plague this offense. In fact, in talking with Clay and George Quarles this week, I mentioned to both of them that, just watching the ebb and flow of that game and some of the things the offense did, it's hard to fathom that the offense only scored 13 points, but that's because they made big mistakes in big moments, and that's kind of been the story of this team this season. They have moved away from it a bit at Wofford and were better against Chattanooga, kind of regressed a little bit. You cannot do that against this UTC team, against East Tennessee State last week. You can't do this against this Chattanooga team, because one of the things, in talking about their defense, that they are spectacular at is keeping opponents out of the end zone in the red zone. Opponents have been in the red zone 20 times against Chattanooga this season. They have 16 scores, but only 8 of those are touchdowns. 40% of the time, opponents get into the end zone once they reach the red zone on Chattanooga. That's another mark of how well this defense has been playing. So it's another huge challenge for the Paladins. And talking with Clay Hendricks about how comfortable Jace Wilson looked against ETSU after looking very uncomfortable against the Citadel in the win the previous week, he said, hey, now he has 3 starts under his belt instead of 2. And it's just continuing to be a learning process as far as Wilson is concerned. It's going to be a big, big test for him this week with a team that loves to get after the quarterback, as we mentioned, and a team that has been very, very good about picking off opposing quarterbacks. Taking a look at the overall Southern Conference standings heading into this week, ETSU and Mercer continuing to lead things at 4-1. You see Chattanooga and VMI there at 3-1. Then the Paladins at 2-2, followed by Samford at 2-3. Citadel and Western Carolina 1-3. Catamounts got their first win of the season last week, and Wofford still trying to get off the schneid. 0-5 in the league, 1-6 overall. The schedule for this week, besides Furman and Chattanooga at 1:30, Samford is at VMI. That's a 1:30 kick. Western Carolina will be at Wofford, and Mercer will be at the Citadel That is a 2 p.m. start. Those are the 4 games in conference play this week. So it promises to be a very intriguing matchup, as most of these conference games are. Defense continues to play well, giving up too much on third down, though. That's the big concern for Dwayne Vaughn and company. All of a sudden, Furman is allowing on third downs opposing offenses to convert 47% of the time, and ETSU was 10 out of 15 on third down last week, including a handful of third and long conversions that proved to be backbreakers. Ironically, Furman, who got 6 sacks in that game, 5 of them in the first half, the change that ETSU made to better protect their quarterback ended up being one of the things that worked to their advantage in that final drive last week when they went what's called max protect, keeping the tight end and the backs in to help protect the quarterback. It kept Furman in more of a base defense and did not let them get extra defensive backs in because there was still the threat of running the football on that drive. You remember, they took over that final possession with 4 minutes to go in the game. So they had their entire playbook open to them, and it was that ability to get after the quarterback early that caused ETSU to make that change, and then Furman ended up staying mostly in its base defense because they could still run the football. Dwayne Vaughn told me moving forward this week, expect them on third down situations to be a little more aggressive and to play a little more man-to-man instead of as much zone. So that's something we'll be keeping an eye on during the course of the game coming up on Saturday. As I said, it's simple math for Furman from a standpoint. If they want to make the playoffs, they're going to have to win their final 4 games. That would finish the season overall at 8-3, 6-2 in the league. And then the question is, will that be enough as far as the committee is concerned? Well, we'll find out. But it all starts with this week. Got to get a win in Chattanooga on Saturday against a very, very talented Mocs team. Kickoff is at 1:30. We'll be on the air with the Pepsi countdown to kickoff on ESPN Upstate, our flagship station, beginning at noon Eastern Time, and look forward to having you on board for what should be a fantastic game between the Paladins and the Mocs. And don't forget, you can also catch it on Booth Cam on the Furman Paladin Facebook page, Furman Paladin Football Facebook page. Look forward to having you with us as we head south to Chattanooga for Furman and the Mocs in a big SoCon matchup on Saturday. Hope you'll join us. Until next time, and until kickoff, I'm Dan Scott saying God bless you, and so long, everybody.